Okay, today we were giving you R. James Briding, one of the most famous writers, samurai writers, and the author of a Swiss Mate, Swiss no Sugoi Kyōsō. He's the managing editor of Nason's. Nason's is the bird.
Managing director, yeah.
Managing director, Nason's egg. If you're an egg, I'm a chicken. I don't want to chicken out. So I'm a Renaissance man. He's a Nason's man. Which comes first?
Renaissance comes first. But if I die, I'll then become Renaissance.
Renaissance. We're even in that respect. You wrote about the Switzerland. A lot of people have the first impressions of Switzerland. It's alpine, a lot of tourists come. People don't have to work hard. They're lazy people. Bad or good?
Well, I think the impressions are wrong. But,
Yeah.
that was the reason for writing the book.
So you come to that argument. Swiss are hardworking as well.
Yes.
But they have no resource poor nation, no oil, no coal, no diamond, just plenty of good air and water. How can they make money on that?
Well, I think because they don't have natural resources, they had to be very resourceful as people. A bit like the Japanese.
Oh, really? In what sense? Would you be more specific about why the Swiss people, the mountain people, the seafaring people, why they are close?
Yeah, I think. I think the Swiss are actually very similar to the Japanese people. First of all, I think they're geographically both islands. You have water surrounding yourself, but Switzerland has mountains that characterize its terrain. So to some extent, they're quite isolated societies. I think secondly, they both have very much a community orientation as opposed to emphasizing the individual. And from that, both societies are relatively collaborative as opposed to competitive. And probably because of that, we both have a sense of humility and modesty as opposed to arrogance that some of these other societies which have a more individual orientation. So I think those are pretty important characteristics of, if you like, the DNA, the social fabric of both countries.
You're talking about this from what angle, what perspective? You're an American.
I'm Swiss and American, but I grew up in America. So my father's Swiss, my mother's
Yes. Are you sitting on the fence looking at Switzerland, or inside looking out? Which?
Well, because I grew up as a child in the United States, I think I more have an outward looking in attitude. But I've spent a lot of time there and I've worked there.
Steve
so.
Jobs. You said earlier they want to grow up like Steve Jobs.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be Steve Jobs?
Who doesn't? Yeah, you want to be creative, entrepreneur.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind inventing the iPad or the iPhone.
Yeah. So you said Switzerland is very competitive. In what sense?
Well, I think it's been very good at a lot of things. It has the highest per capita GDP in the world. It also has been very good about distributing income on a relatively equitable basis across the population, so the degree of inequality is much lower than in other places. I think it has very low unemployment and very high wages and very low inflation, so it's been very good in those aspects. It's very safe, it's very clean, and it has a very high standard of living, and people like to go there and live there and raise their families. So I think it has a lot of things going for it.
So you're growing rapidly at the expense of other nations. In Europe, it's a crisis. Come on, financial crisis. Why Switzerland now? Why?
Well, Switzerland actually suffered in the financial crisis as well. I think we all did. UBS is the world's largest wealth manager in the world, and it went effectively bankrupt and had to be rescued by the Swiss government. So, we've also had our lumps and had our problems to solve.
But a lot of people have a negative image of Switzerland being secretive and clandestine and Swiss number the account to breeds crime, financial crime.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of truth in that.
But they're giving up on that.
Well, I think there's quite a lot of similarities between Japan and Switzerland. The first thing that comes to mind is that I think both societies put a lot of value on the community as opposed to the individual. And that means that they also put a lot of value on collaborating as opposed to competing among each other. And then from that, I think people have to have quite a lot of respect for other individuals and show a higher degree of humility and modesty than societies where there's a greater emphasis on the individual. So I think these aspects are very important in terms of determining the fabric of society and regulating how people behave between each other, among each other. I think the other aspects are sort of a more physical nature. Both countries are effectively islands. Japan, of course, is physically an island, but Switzerland has also historically been an island. The mountains have sort of separated from lots of other different countries, and also political wars have sort of isolated it and made it, to some extent, very separate from other countries. It's had neutrality for about 400 years. But in addition, neither country have substantial natural resources, so they have to depend on hard work ethics and the natural resourcefulness of the people. And I think both of those features sort of come out in the people in terms of how hard they work and how serious they are in terms of I think the other thing is that both societies are quite skeptical concerning foreigners. You could even say they're xenophobic and afraid of foreigners. And even though Switzerland has a lot more immigrants than Japan, a lot of this immigration has come because of people were forced to come to Switzerland. So you had the Huguenots that came from France, Protestant sect. You had the Jews that came from Germany, who were forced out of Germany. You had Hungarians, people from the Czech Republic because of the increasing power of Russia, were forced to come to Switzerland. So yes, there's a lot of immigration, but much of that immigration was by force as opposed to choice. So I think if you take up all these elements, you see two societies which have, at the real substrate, a great degree of similarities with each other, and therefore probably could do a lot more things together with each other. So that's sort of my assessment of similarities between the two countries.
We've been talking about the Honne and Tatemae differences. Basel is close to Osaka. What is the view of that? But you have different countries, German-speaking Zurich and French-speaking Geneva, and Italian-speaking Lugano.
Yeah.
What kind of a country is this? What about Osaka?
Well, I think first of all that Switzerland is probably very similar to Japan before the Meiji era. Harold James, who wrote our preface, he's a famous historian from Princeton, said that the medieval city-state structure of Switzerland has survived better than any place in Europe. So you have these, as you suggest, these medieval city-states like Geneva, Basel, Zurich, St. Gallen that continue to define Switzerland. In fact, I think Switzerland is a collection of Osakas.
Osaka.
A collection of Osakas.
Like a Swiss cheese.
with holes in me. There you go.
What makes you proud of this? How do you pronounce this? The chocolate you gave me.
This is a chocolate called Lederock. We just had an event hosted by the Swiss Embassy last night.
Wow.
And this is considered to be the finest chocolate in Switzerland.
Finest chocolate.
It's handmade.
Handmade?
Yeah, and you can see the craftsmanship of each individual piece.
Wow. Yummy! Yummy!
Don't eat them all.
Don't eat them. Just save it for other people. Thank you. それじゃね、やっぱりこう日本とよく似たことがあってバラバラなんだけどスイスチーズみたいなって言ったら思い出したらいやチョコレートの方が有名だよっていうことで今チョコレート出してみましたですね。It's been nice talking to you, Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mr. Matsumoto.
Thank you
very
much.
Thank you.
Michio Matsumoto, known as Channel Tokyo, Japan. See you next week.